Why is he talking about martial arts? He looks like he's never lifted more than a sandwich.
All right, take 6. This is an uncomfortable video to make, and no matter how I approach and formulate it, I'm unhappy with it. There might be some kind of benefit in it, or there might not be. I don't know. I just don't know what else to do. Okay, so the problem is things have gotten a lot more difficult. And by things, I mean fixing both what's going on with my channel and myself. I'll put timestamps in here, so if you don't feel like sitting through a rant or listening to me whine, if that's how you want to put it, you can skip ahead or you can skip the entire video. I don't fucking care, okay? I just need to process this and get it off my chest and ask for help, I suppose, as well. So, I've gone through these phases a number of times when the views are down and ad revenue's in the toilet, and everything I try to do to fix it doesn't work. It's just never been this low and this difficult. You know, after 15 years or whatever of doing this on YouTube, my mentality is if stuff doesn't work, if the views are down, it's my fault. I got to make the videos better. I got to make it more engaging. My editing's got to be better. I got to put more oomph into it. I don't know, I gotta pick better topics that people are more interested in, etc., etc. That doesn't seem to work anymore. YouTube has changed the game. It has done so a bunch of times. So far I've adapted, I suppose, even though I really just keep doing the same thing. I don't know, definition of insanity, right? I guess now the way to play the game is making a shit ton of shorts, which I'm really not a fan of. The vertical format is horrible in terms of cinematography and is not really my style. I've even seen channels with over 3 million subscribers and more that say their views are down. So I'm not in a unique position by any means, nor am I telling you this to get sympathy points or whatever bullshit, nor does this mean that I'm about to quit. It's precisely because I'm passionate about this, because this is what I want to do. This is what I'm enjoying the most. This is what I want my full-time job to be like. So I'm not willing to go down without a fight. So I want to just fix it. I just don't know how. And that leads me to the other problem, which is basically the same issue, which is, I can't fix this. The thing is, people lately have been posting a bunch of comments, pretty rude comments, but whatever. It's random strangers on the internet. What can you expect about how fat I've gotten? And I don't really know why suddenly. I've been like this for 3 years. What I suppose is difficult to understand about all this is that the entire time, for these past 3 years, I've been trying to get back on track. I hope I'm back on track. I'm a little skeptical because I've said that twice before already. It used to feel like I'm flipping a switch inside my head, and from then on it went. But I've had that twice now, recently, and didn't change yet. So here's another push. I have not given up. That's what it looks like, obviously, because there hasn't been any long-term success. I've had short-term success and then, major regression over and over and over again. It's infuriating. So in order to understand this, which I can't expect you to understand, and there's no reason why you should bother, because this is just my personal issues, and my personal life is none of your business, really, but it is relevant for this, because even though this is not a fitness channel or anything, I definitely understand how it undermines my credibility to talk about historical armor, in particular martial arts. Like, people are looking at this fat nerd like,
why is he talking about martial arts? He looks like he's never lifted more than a sandwich.
Never mind the fact that I learned most of what I know about swordsmanship when I looked like this. But for the majority of the time on this channel, I've been some level of chubby or fat or whatever. When I started out, I looked even worse. I've gone through several phases of up and down. In order to understand this mess, there's a certain context. And because I know how trying to converse with random strangers on the internet generally works, let me clarify. What I'm about to tell you is not meant as excuses. The way I see it, I don't have excuses, I have difficulty modifiers. You know, when you start the new game plus and you want it to be more challenging, you add modifiers like enemies do more damage, you do less damage, you have less health, blah, 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 whatever the hell. That's kind of how I see this, which means it's more difficult, but it's not a reason to stop trying. All right, having gotten that out of the way. So what are those difficulty modifiers? A big one is eating disorder, food addiction. Some people will vehemently and ignorantly deny that food addiction is real. It is absolutely real. What's the nature of an addiction? It causes you to do things that you know are contrary to your goals, that you know will make you feel terrible, both physically and mentally, in the long run, and that you've told yourself you're not going to do. And you're doing it anyway. There's this meme, you know, when you stand at a cliff and suddenly your brain is like, jump. Except addiction is sort of like thinking, oh, that's silly, walking away from the cliff. Meanwhile, you feel the strong urge to sprint towards the edge of the cliff and jump as far as you can. And while you're still thinking, I would never do that, you find yourself going into a sprinter stance facing the cliff, and you think, oh no, I'm not going to do that. There's a cognitive side where you're aware that what you're doing is wrong, sabotages your goal, you need to stop, you want to stop, but then there's this overwhelming primal urge, this strong motivational power in the moment to do the thing that you told yourself you're not going to do again. You're never unmotivated. You're always motivated towards something. You may not be motivated to eat healthy and exercise, but that doesn't mean you're unmotivated. You have a strong motivation to do the opposite. It's not all doom and gloom. There are ways to break the pattern, develop better habits, and claw your way out of an addiction. It'll never leave. It'll never ever go away. It's an ongoing struggle. The important part is that you don't give up. It's just, I understand that it's really confusing to look at this from the outside and be like, why doesn't he stop? Why doesn't he put the goddamn food down? Okay, so the other difficulty modifiers are predominantly inattentive ADHD and generalized anxiety. I say predominantly inattentive because it's not the hyperactive kind of boundless energy ADHD. It's a lethargic, no energy, no motivation kind of ADHD. And energy has been a problem for as long as I remember. I've been to so many doctors, they've run so many different tests, so many things have been checked, I've done so many different diets, I'm supplementing. Nobody knows what's wrong with me, and neither do you, by the way, before you start giving me a bunch of unsolicited advice based on the most recent diet fad or whatever. I appreciate the positive intentions, but you don't know me. You haven't seen my blood work, you don't know my lifestyle, you don't know anything other than what I'm telling you right now, which is really not a whole lot. For all I know, the problems with low energy and feeling like garbage much of the time could be caused entirely by my poor sleep, which I also don't know what's causing that, and I've been trying to fix that and it doesn't work either. It's easy to jump to the conclusion that I feel like shit because I look like shit, but I also look like shit because I feel like shit. And I didn't feel much better at my most fit. I mean, yes, it wasn't quite as bad, but one of the main problems of this whole journey is before I was able to motivate myself by thinking, okay, once I get to this goal, once I get to a certain weight, to a certain fitness level, I'm going to be happy and I'm going to be feeling so much better. That wasn't the case. I was constantly tired. If I don't seem terribly enthusiastic or anything, apologies, I'm just destroyed from the workout today. I'm just barely hanging in. Constantly aching. I mean, I was probably overtrained, in all fairness. And it's such a sobering, disillusioning realization to be like, okay, I've accomplished this goal, but there's not the reward that I was seeking. I didn't get the muscle gains I was trying so desperately to get, which led to a bunch of injuries because I got to the point where I was so stubborn. I was so frustrated by hitting such a massive plateau that I just powered straight through it, despite more and more aches and pains, until eventually I injured my rotator cuff, which put me out of commission for a year, and I was in constant pain, and it's still a problem. It's crunchy, and like certain movements will immediately send pain in there, and it'll spasm. And the reason why all this preoccupies me so much, and it's such a major deterrent, is anxiety. That's not something that everybody takes so harshly necessarily. I've definitely seen people bounce back from injuries and be like, yeah, I got messed up, but I got better and I made adjustments. But when you have anxiety on top of it, there's just always this voice that takes all the available evidence and is like, see, and this is why you're a useless piece of shit who will never accomplish anything worthwhile. All of this has been a problem for as long as I've been alive. But now that I've accumulated a bunch of chronic injuries and am in my 40s, it's twice as hard as it was. Again, no excuses. I'm not giving up, okay? And this is where I'm trying to turn it into something more positive. I think I need help. The last time I went through all this and lost a bunch of fat and became more fit, I didn't do it all by myself. I was with a HEMA school, Blood and Iron Victoria, at the time. And there's one benefit of social anxiety in particular. It makes you less willing to commit to situations where you're training in a group. But once you have committed to it, there's always this voice in your head when you're like, oh, I feel like absolute garbage today. I really don't want to go to class. And then this little anxiety voice is like, yeah, but you skipped class last time. You're going to look like a lazy, worthless slacker. And I definitely push myself harder when training with others. It's a worse experience because the stress level is higher and it's miserable, but it works. So I might have to commit again to, there is a HEMA school here. I've just been avoiding it because I absolutely despise the idea of the way I am now, injured and fat and out of shape, having to train with other people and being like the one huffing, puffing fatty who can't keep up. I've been through that. That's been the start of the previous phase, and I hated every minute of it. But I've had 3 years to do it on my own. I failed. I can't do it. So clearly I need help. If there's anybody in Nova Scotia, in the general Halifax area who is willing to train with me, who ideally already knows what they're doing, let me know. You can contact me in the About section on my channel page. There isn't really a whole lot of incentive because I would get more out of it than you do. It's a selfish request, I realize that, but quite frankly, with the way YouTube has been going, I can't afford to hire a personal trainer. That's just not happening. That's how things have been going. I generally try to not talk about these things because, as you can tell, I work myself into a frenzy, going on a real emotional rant, and it just comes across as whining and, yeah, it kind of sucks, but I literally don't know what else to do because, yeah, I can't do it on my own, quite clearly. I keep getting offers from people who offer to do editing. But for one, I can't afford to hire somebody at this point. Two, every time I've tried it, which is a couple of times, I made changes anyway because I wasn't happy with how it turned out. Three, editing is actually not the worst part. Yes, it's very time consuming, but I don't really mind it all that much. What I mind and what I'm terrible at is the marketing side of things. Promoting yourself and, researching statistics and checking what's the current trend and what performs best and what works best with the algorithm. I despise that. I just want to do my thing. So I could use help with that. But then again, I can't really offer much. So yeah, thanks for listening to this. I have no idea how you made it through all this overly long 38 minutes. I'm gonna have to try to edit this down. Back to the regular schedule. I'll keep making videos as best I can. I'll try to keep them as entertaining and informative and as engaging as I'm able to. If that's not enough, then guess I'll die. Well, I've now redoubled my efforts. When you've struggled and failed so many times for so long, you stop believing that's even possible. You stop believing in yourself. I'm gonna make yet another earnest push. And the way I'm feeling now tells me that, yeah, maybe I haven't been trying hard enough because this sucks even more.